case, multiple cases possible.
Awesome. Okay, so we are live now, Teresa. So hi everyone. My name is Sandy Casella. I'm with Casella Homes Real Estate, and I'm here with Teresa Briggs. And Teresa and I are going to have a conversation about Lumenus Mental Health Services and a fundraiser that she's doing for them, which I think is amazing. So a little background. So Teresa and I support Lumenus as well. So our real estate team donates a portion of our commission on every home sale to Lumenus, and Lumenus does a great job of helping people in the community with mental health issues, and so much needed at this time. So Teresa, thank you so much for agreeing to do this Facebook Live with me. And if you want to say a couple of words about yourself and maybe a little bit about what you're doing, not all of it, and then we'll kind of get into it. And at the end, we'll tell everybody how they can donate.
Sure. So my name is Teresa Briggs, and I work in Toronto. And I'm about to retire. I have 3 children, and one of them actually had a lot of issues as a young adolescent. And, you know, at that time, I did everything. I threw the kitchen sink at it and trying to help him, and just found that I keep hitting dead ends and dead ends and dead ends. So because of that experience, I become a big, researcher of like, how do you get service? How do you get people helped? And also a big advocate for getting access for people who actually have less means to get access to mental health support. Sometimes like one counseling session could turn a person's around, because a lot of these things, people are telling stories on their own. Like, the story you tell yourself really color how you see the world and how you react to things that's happening to you. And you can get into a tailspin so easily. So that's really what got me into raising funds for Lumenus. And I was connected to Lumenus through my other work that I was doing for United Way at that time, and found that this organization is really client focused, in a sense that they're focusing on the person they try to help. They'll do anything to help them. And they will focus on making sure that the free services can be delivered to anyone who walked in. They're not going to ask you for where you live. So if you're homeless and if you somehow was running away from home because you were so distressed, you don't need to give them your home address, and you don't have to give them your OHIP card. So for youngsters, it's so important when they actually feel that they're totally alone. And that really sold me, and that, into helping them. And I got more involved with them, and the more I'm committed that they're doing the right thing. It is going to be the right model going forward. Everyone needs to have some support. And this pandemic is really just crystallizing, all the issues that people would be having that they couldn't speak to about before. And now it's coming to a head. So I'm doing this walk and run 10K. Is a lot for me. I don't even normally run. I do other exercise, but my legs don't really carry me that way. But to me, it's a stretch. And if I can stretch to do something for a youngster who is really in distress, I'll do it. So that's why I'm doing this right now.
Absolutely. So, and I know you're like such an incredible person. And the way that you and I met was because I had a family member, a loved one, that was going through some mental health issues as well. And I was connected to you through a friend, and your help and assistance in guiding me into some of these programs that were available was the catalyst to get us started on the right direction. And she's doing so much better thanks to like the information that you gave us, because I think the biggest issue is that, finding mental health services is really challenging at the best of times. Now, throw a crisis, because you're not, when everything's going well, you're not thinking, well, I should look and see where, some mental health services are in case I need them. You're looking when you're in crisis, and now you're in crisis, it's next to impossible. And there are some really, really great services out there, but people don't know about them. And then, like I say, you get thrown into this crisis, and now you're trying to find things. And I was lucky enough, I still remember that day. And it was like everything happens for a reason, because I remember you were connected, I was connected to you through my friend Lisa Nash, who's also a big supporter. And you and I think we didn't connect for about 2 weeks. And for whatever reason, I was on my way home driving from Kingston that day, and we happened to get on a call and we talked. And oh my goodness, by the time I got off that call, I felt so much better. Like I had a direction, who I can call, who I could, reach out to get some help. And it was that is what's so much needed, I think, is just, you know, knowing where to turn when something like this is happening. And is there even something that's a concern that you need help with? And a lot of it is, I think, just finding those connections, right? I think that's super important.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because it's not advertised, and then sometimes it is, even if it's advertised, you don't know if it is really the right directions and so forth. And I think, you know, we need to spread the word around and, you know, somehow pull something together. And I've encouraged, and Lumenus is going to do that as well, and they have been doing that because, you know, we have met with couple counselor, Lisa, yourself, and Nancy on that cause. If they can't help someone, they would actually always try to find someone else to be able to help them. And that's the beauty of it. It's one of the things that you walk into this agency, they not just say, well, sorry, not in my territory, not in my geography, I can't help you. But they will actually try to help you say, okay, if you're in the wrong, like not in my catchment, but I can, you know, let you have these names. And also it looks like this is a situation that you will benefit from something else here, and try this. So supporting them, and that's not something that the government will pay for. Like, you know, the government will say, well, that's not treatment, that's not this, and that's why we need to fundraise for a lot of these adjunct service.
Yeah, and I think that's important, because that was a conversation that you and I had, because I was looking for something to get behind, and my concern was, you know, are they going to turn people away if they're not from Toronto? And we talked about that, because unfortunately that happens, and it's sad, but it does happen. So I wanted to make sure that Lumenus would support everybody, and my goal eventually is to help Lumenus open a walk-in clinic here in Hamilton, because I think those walk-in clinics are so important. A lot of the stories that I'm hearing today, which is going to segue into who you're supporting here, is that, you know, young people are going through something, and, you know, they're maybe at this level and their parents are trying to get them help, and they're, you know, a little bit younger, and the parent has control and can be involved. And then it just keeps going on without any help, because it's hard to access services. Then the child gets to a certain age, and by now they've given up. They've given up all hope of getting help. And now they're like, you know, by the time you find that help, the child is like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I don't want this help. I don't need it. I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, they've built up that wall, and now they don't want any help. So it's so super important to get to these kids before they get to that point where they no longer want the help, because they've given up on every adult in their life. They've heard it all from everybody, and they don't want to hear it anymore. And that's why it's super important to get to them at this point. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing and this money that's getting raised, how you're raising it, and, you know, what you're hoping to do.
Yeah, so this money, so for this particular event that we're doing is, we, a bunch of us, you know, directors of Lumenus, as well as staff and, you know, helpers, donors, doing a run, and we're trying to raise $80,000. And this $80,000 is going to buy extra counseling hours for this very specific age group. For this year, this is the target. This is the age group where you aged out in your pediatric system, which is around 17, 18 years old. You no longer see a pediatrician. As Sandy said, you become an adult, and you're out of that parental situation. But you may not be in school anymore. Like, you might have gone to university or college for a couple of years, you dropped out, or maybe even graduated, but you are struggling, and you may not have a job to go to, and maybe your job doesn't even, you know, give you benefits to, say, go see a counselor and yet be out of pocket. But you're struggling, you're coming of age, you know, you're trying to prove to the world that I'm a big person, you know, I can do all these things. So all these things is really overwhelming for this age group. This age group from 18, 19 to 26 years old, we call this transitional age youth. We don't believe that, you know, people are full grown just because you're age of 18. Like, you know, you just don't. You're full grown when you're full grown. Everyone has a different timetable. So this is going to buy us counseling hours. We're estimating anywhere between 650 to 670 hours additional money to give counseling out to this group. And the pandemic is really hitting this group really hard as well, because it's really hard for young people to get out of school and find a job. And then it's very, very discouraging. Like, you did all that schooling and, if you don't think you have the right experience, or you're not getting the right interview, or people can't really see the best of you because you're interviewed differently, it's good that they would have a place to go to and then someone to talk to. So we're going to do, lots of people are doing actually true runs, because these are true runners, and they are knocking on everybody's door and trying to, encourage donations. Some of us are actually doing matching funds, and other people are actually, just really trying to make sure that there's some challenge going on. So I'm hoping that everyone will help out and donate to this cause. I'm actually happy to match dollar to dollar for whatever we can raise, because to me, it's one thing to say, hey, we need to support mental health and be empathetic and so forth. You got to put our money where our mouth is, because if we don't help ourselves, no one's going to be able to help us. And at this juncture, I am quite, impressed with what Lumenus can do for the people who are in need in every single age group. This is what Sandy is talking about just now too. Like, sometimes, more importantly, if there are things that, like, Sandy and I both are parents, and we both have experienced, how our children was struggling. And then we look back and say, oh my goodness, there are things I did. There are things I did 100%. That was really being a catalyst in sort of escalating the situation. Only if I knew that was the time, and I would stop and I wouldn't do that, right? Yeah. And so there are actually sessions like training that, Sandy, you mentioned the Passage Fair, that parental training. And if I only had skills like that, I may have lessened the effect. It's not going to change, thing maybe trajectory, but on the other hand, it could have. We don't know. I mean, you can't go back in history. But so Lumenus also, because it caters to age 0 all the way up to at least age 26 in terms of treatment. And then they also have adult services for that the province entrusted them for those who actually cannot possibly help themselves and they need to be in some residential services. But because the age 0 to 26, the age 0 part is they targeting young parents who may not have very good family homes. They didn't have the parenting skills that they inherit from their parents, and they're teaching them and they're starting them young and preventing that trajectory that maybe, it would be a problem in the future. And there's early on years, like, they will be able to help kids from every age. So that's the other aspect of it that, they actually deliver services on. But for this particular campaign, we're trying to increase counseling hours for youth within that transitional age group.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really important, because I think that age group, at that point in your life, well, of course, when I was 20, I knew everything, Teresa, but that was, it's been all downhill since then. But I think that is a tough age anyway, right? Like you're finishing high school, you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. There's so many questions unanswered, and to throw in, problems like depression, anxiety, borderline personality disorder, bipolar, things like that, to throw that in as well and not have any support can be tragic, right? Can be, life altering. There's one thing I do want to say, like I you mentioned about having the skills to deal with it earlier. And I think what you said is so true. Like, as a parent, we made a lot of mistakes. However, I'm not taking that as blame, and neither are you. Like, we're not blaming ourselves, but if you don't know how to deal with a certain situation, you just don't know how to deal with that situation. And there are skills where you can, lessen the impact, or maybe, help this person with guidance and not make things worse. So that's a big thing that I've learned over the last few years. And I mean, my whole life, I've been surrounded by people who have either mental health or addiction issues my entire life. And I see now, like, my siblings or different people growing up, and how if things had been handled, if we had different skills, things might have been a little bit better. And I think that was that for me is the tragic part, that like just in my own adult life, 20 years of dealing with people with mental health issues, and I'm just getting help now, right now, because in the past they would try to help, you know, the family member who's suffering, but the family was not treated as a unit. The family's a unit. When someone in your house is hurting, you're all hurting in some way, shape, or form. And everybody needs to be educated on how to manage this, and how, you know, I liken it to playing baseball, right? So if you're playing baseball and you hit the ball, you run to first, and nobody stops you, you're going to run to second. If you still don't get stopped, you run to third, and if you still don't get stopped, you run home. Well, that's how this loop works, right? Like your child does something, you react. They do something, you react. Everybody's reacting. It just keeps going around and around. At some point, it's got to stop. Something, you've got to get a lever in there to stop it and get you on a different trajectory. You got to like stop that guy at first or stop that guy at second. And that's kind of what Lumenus does. And I'm so happy, a number of things. I'm happy to hear that they deal with the family, because I think that's so important. And the other thing is they help everybody, like regardless of race, creed, culture, gender, you know, sexual orientation, nobody would ever be turned away. And that's, you know, sometimes those kind of things, even sexual orientation, will lead to different issues, right? Like people don't get depressed because of that. They get depressed because of the way people treat them, right? Kids with ADHD don't get angry and anxious because they have ADHD. They get angry and anxious because of the way they're treated, and then they become angry and anxious, and it kind of leads to this spiral where if we know how to control it or know how to react in the first place, it would just make it better for everybody. So how can people donate? How can people donate on an, you know, if someone's inspired to donate on an ongoing basis, maybe like I know with you, we have linked your page in the chat here. So if people are interested, they can donate, and we're going to pass that out. You know, if anybody's thinking of, if you're moving at some point and you work with our real estate team, we donate a portion of our commission as well to Lumenus on an ongoing basis. There's a number of different ways you can become a monthly donor. There's a lot of things, but I think we've got your page in there. Yeah, we've got your page in there. So your what are you hoping to raise? Like I know Lumenus itself is hoping to raise 80,000. Is that correct? And you're hoping to raise, well, obviously as much as you can. If we could raise 80,000
as much as I can.
Oh, that would be so awesome. I would just be like, oh, just think of the kids, right? Like turning around their whole life for the future. So tell us what you're hoping to do there. I'm so happy to hear you, like, you know, you're going to run, and it's not something that you normally do. I'm doing, if you're doing this next year, I'm doing it with you, by the way. So
wonderful. I set the goal at $5,000, and this morning I was just looking at my page, and it was like hitting like maybe $4,000 at that time. Way to go! But you know, the sky is the limit. You know, money can buy my son happiness and peace and joy. I'll rather go bankrupt. Like, you know, the pain you see in your child when he's not himself, it's unbelievable. So if what I can do can buy some counseling hours to prevent another person to go through what my son has gone through, I'll do anything. And it's not something that, you know, sometimes money can help, but this is the one thing that money is going to be helpful in this case. That's why I said I'll do it. So the sky is the limit for that matter. Like, do the best, whatever you can give me, I would match. Anyone who is on this call that comes through, dollar for dollar, and then, you know, we're going to have a great time, and knowing that we have made a difference today. So this is how we're going to do it. Now, in terms of monthly donations or more ongoing donations, or you want to be kept up with the news as to what's going on with Lumenus, then send me your information so I can pass it to the development office at Lumenus, and we'll put you on the newsletter, as well as, you know, talk with you as to what arrangement you want to make in terms of making more regular donations and becoming a supporter on an ongoing basis. It is a very responsible organization, and I'm not going to be involved with them if I don't believe that they're going to deliver good work. And that's why, this is the first thing for me too. I've never done any live stream for that matter, but I'm happy to do that, and I'm happy to talk to anyone on the phone as well. So Sandy and I had chat we chatted because we just chatting as two moms, and trying to solve problems together. And I think I'm willing to open myself up to do that as well. Like, that's one of the reasons I want to retire, because I want to be able to spend more time to help others who may have trouble navigating at the moment, and then maybe point them to the right way so that they can set themselves and their children on the right path. It is a family issue. It's never a single person issue. And it affects everyone that is connected. We're 6 degrees of separation. It affects your friends, it can affect everyone. So I hope everyone just, think about this and support us.
Yeah. So I would say to anyone, if you are interested, if you're in crisis and you need some help, there are good supports out there. You can reach out to Lumenus. You can reach out to sashbear.org, which is a great organization, and Sunnybrook
Family Navigation.
Family Navigation.
Family Navigation.
Yeah, Sunnybrook Family Navigation is also a great source for people to find out where you can get help. Like Teresa said, she's always open to talking to people, and I will say Teresa was a lifesaver for me and really helped us. I'm always open to talk to people who are in crisis or who just need some guidance, or just need an ear or something, somebody to listen to them, or somebody to know, like, is this something I need help with. I would say if you're wondering if it's something you need help with, you probably do need help with. Speaking with a professional is always a good idea. And I think Lumenus is doing a fantastic job, and I'm hoping to get behind them even more. And like I said, open a walk-in clinic. That's my goal here, because I think that's important. I think when somebody reaches out for help, they need help that day. It can't be, we just can't treat people that way. We can't tell people, come back in 4 months, like, I wouldn't go to the doctor. And I heard a number of times when my family was in crisis earlier, like, well, they're not worst case scenario. And it just never made any sense to me. I thought, like, that's like telling someone who's got a broken arm, come back when you've broken every bone in your body. You just would never be treated that way. And we owe it to people to treat them a little bit better. I really hope that everything that's gone on with COVID over the last couple of years will be the catalyst to make big, huge changes in the mental health field. And I think, I'm a big believer in universal laws. And one of them is, the law of polarity. And there has to be an equal and opposite to everything. So as bad as things get, there has to be a good side. So, there is a good to this. There is a good to what's happened. And I think if that is the thing that gets us on the path to help more people with their mental health issues, let's face it, without your mental health, you have nothing. You have no health, right? And
there's no health.
1 in 5 Canadians will have a mental health or an addiction issue this year, which means every single family is affected. So Teresa, I love what you're doing. I love you. Like, we just, you and I really have connected, and I just love what you're doing. You're such a powerful woman. I just love it.
Well, Sandy, you have been, as I said to you the other day, just knowing that you are in my life and in my hood, just calm me down, because our days, Sandy and I know, our days are not straightforward. Like, the deal's done, signed, ink is dry, put it away, we can move on to the next one. It's not. It's Groundhog Day over and over again, and you just don't know when it hits. And so, being in kind of a group and some support system here, that knowing that, we can make a difference, knowing that we're doing our best every day and forgive ourselves, and knowing that when things don't seem to go right, I can say, I'll probably just think about Sandy and give her a shout or something like that. And so that's why, I think Sandy and I both are pretty open that you just need an ear, we'll listen. And I can promise you that, we keep everything in confidence. We don't really talk about anything in specific to anyone. We don't, because this is the only way you can share. Because if you don't think that you are you are safe, and that your information is safe, which is obviously going to a healthcare provider can help you do that. But sometimes you just need a voice, and you don't have to be specific with us or anything like that. But on the other hand, if you just say, I need to vent, I need to talk, can you point me to a different place so that we can go on a different path? We'd be happy to do that. And you have my contact information. I'm terrible at media. This is like the first time I do that. I'm going to have to learn, but that's going to be my retirement project. Another learning process. It will be good.
Look at you though, like you're running on Sunday, or you're doing this run, which you've never done before, and you're like here live on Facebook, on social media, and you didn't even blink an eye when I asked you. I said, let's do this, and you were like, yeah, let's do it. I've never done it before, but I'll figure it out. So that just talks to your spirit, and I think a lot of with mental health is just talking about it, right? It's 10% what happens to you, and 90% is the rest, like the secrecy, the stigma. Let's don't talk about it. Don't tell anybody. And the only way to bring this out and to fix it is for people to talk about it. So if you're comfortable and you're comfortable telling your story to people, I would really encourage you to do that, because it gives people the space to tell their story to other people, and that in turn helps other people. So, you know, you'd be shocked at the number of people, you know, when you open up about your story, you'd be shocked at the number of people who will say, yeah, like I've got this going on in my life, or I've got this, or I've got this. Everybody does. Everybody's got a story. So, you know, I think be kind, right? Be kind, because you never know what that person standing beside you is going through or has been through. Just be kind, and, you know, give people some grace, and you might be the thing that, you know, keeps them alive that day sometimes, because some people are really just hanging on by a thread.
I know, that smile, that, you know, eye connection or tap on the shoulder, that might be the one thing that helped them out, right? Yeah. And anytime, and you know, we're here. So, and like, you know, Lumenus, it is an amazing organization, and look them up. Is lumenus.ca, as LUMENUS.ca, and actually what we actually say is love you, me, and us.
Oh my goodness, I love that. Oh
yeah.
Okay, good, awesome. Yeah. I'm gonna use that. So that's amazing. Okay, so Teresa, we have the link in the chat here. We're also going to share this as much as we can. So if you're watching this video either live or recorded, please share this video so other people can help as well. And let's get Teresa to her goal, or actually let's get Teresa way above her goal, and let's get Lumenus way above their goal. I'm going to be making a donation soon. I hope that everybody else will as well. Whatever you can donate would be great, and if you can share this would be great. Yeah, and check out Lumenus. You can go to their website, and if there's any other questions you have for either of us, reach out. I do read the comments here. I will follow up, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to follow up with you, and so is Teresa as well. So
great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, have a great day, Teresa. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
You too, Sandy. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.